this meeting to order and acknowledge that the Tumwater School District sits on the ancestral land of the Nisqually, Squaxin Island, and Chehalis people. I thank these caretakers of the land who have lived on and continue to live on the land since time immemorial. Please rise as Brian Hardcastle leads us in the flag salutes.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Private Citizen Hardcastle. All right. Superintendent Bogatin, have there been any changes or additions to the agenda since it was published?
So no changes. I do want to just note that we made a change to the time that was noted. So there was one place where in the agenda we had it at 5 o'clock, but the part of it that said 6 o'clock. So we did make that change. It made me republish the document, but there was no changes. So I don't know if anyone really catches that. So we're still, again, some new things that we've done, but I don't. So that's the only change in terms of like a technical. Just wanted, if people were wondering if there was why it was published again.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Agenda is approved as presented. Now we'll go to the meeting minutes review. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from the December 12th and December 18th meetings?
Yep.
Are there any changes or corrections? All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. The minutes are approved. Now we'll go on to the consent agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the consent agenda? Any questions or discussion?
Just as you continue, I do have Director Keel on Zoom. He has given the thumbs up, so I don't know whether you want to record that. So for Becky, or if you want me to respond as Ty responds to any motions.
Yeah, that would
so
be
just
great.
be, if you want to ask for Ty, and then he'll give me his thumbs up here or thumbs down or a question. So I'm monitoring that situation.
All right, great. We're on the consent agenda. Any questions or discussions for the consent agenda? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved as presented. Oh, Kevin will present board appreciation.
So each January is Board Appreciation Month, and so we do want to just spend a couple minutes appreciating this board and the time they spend. So there's a couple different things. So there were some posters provided by a few of our schools. So you see some of our Peter G. Eagles. The We Love You, that came from Black Lake. So we love you, Peter G. Eagles, and we have a couple videos. Before we start the video, we do have some cookies, and so I don't know do you guys want to help me with that? And so we'll pass them with this group first, and then around to the audience. We have a little bigger crowd tonight, so I don't have cookies for everybody. I don't know if everyone wants a cookie. I'll owe you one. But I definitely want our school board to get a cookie. And as they're doing that, I will load up a couple videos, and so as you get your cookie, I'll let the board get their cookie, and then we'll start this.
This looks like
already. Thank you.
I'm good. All right, here we go.
About the preamble. It's the first paragraph of the Constitution of the United States.
And at the beginning of this is a little
It
quiet.
was written in 1787 and sets out ideals we want for our country.
They're sharing about the preamble of the Constitution.
Things like laws.
Having a military. We don't want to fight each other. We want to take care of people who need it. Do you want to hear it? We the people, in order to form a perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide
All right, and we have one more for you.
Rock Elementary, home of the Tigers. As student learners, we know how important it is to make good decisions and think about the needs of others. You all do that every day to make our schools a great place to learn.
Today, we want to shine a light on something truly special, the Tumwater School Board of Directors. We are so excited to say a big thank you to, to all of you for the important work you do for our schools, students, and community. You help make sure we have safe buildings, amazing teachers, and fun activities that help us grow and succeed through our amazing life.
Let's go meet a few more fifth grade leaders who want to say thank you.
Hello, I am Miss Holder. I am the school counselor here at Little Rock, and I'm here to ask these amazing fifth grade leaders some questions. So, let's see here. Rhodey, let's start with you. What do you have to say?
I think it's really cool that students can share their ideas with the school board. It makes me feel like our opinions matter. And it's exciting that we can help make our school better for everyone.
Absolutely. Now I'd love to hear from Grayson. What do you appreciate about our school board?
I like that the school board listens to the community too. I think it's cool that our parents can go and talk about what's important to our family. It feels like we're all part of a big team working together.
That's great, Grayson. Now, Ophelia, what else do you have to say?
I think having high school students involved is awesome because we're the ones learning here. It's nice to know they care about what we think. It's like we're helping to make our own education even better. I wonder if maybe I will get this opportunity when I am in high school.
Very well said, Ophelia. Lily, how about you?
It makes me proud when the school board includes students and families. It shows that they care about everyone, not just grown-ups. It makes me want to do my best because I know my voice can make a difference.
That is so true, Lily. Madison, what else?
I think it's really special that Little Rock Elementary and the school board work together to make sure we all belong. I just want to say thank you to the school board for everything you do to help us. It means a lot that you take the time to listen to the students and make our schools the best they can be. We're really appreciate all the work you do.
We know your job isn't easy. You spend a lot of time thinking about what's best for students, and we want to know we notice and appreciate all you do.
We wanted to share a small token, on behalf of all the students at Little Rock Elementary, thank you for your hard work, your care, and your dedication to making our education the best it can be.
We wanted to share a small token of our appreciation at Little Rock. At Little Rock, every new student receives a tiger keychain as a welcome gift, symbolizing that they are a part of our tiger community. We hope you'll proudly consider yourself as part of our community too.
Thank you, amazing fifth grade leaders, for sharing why we appreciate our school board.
Thank you again, Tumwater School Board, for everything you do for our schools. Thank you.
So there's a little bit of appreciation from some of our schools. We have some swag. We'll get that out to you. We also have some district shirts that are coming for the school board and students. So didn't get here today, but they're coming to you soon. So appreciation that will last a little bit longer. So we, on behalf of our community, so thank you to you all. So
Thank you. That's
ready to roll?
always a tough thing for us because we do this for all sorts of reasons, but definitely because we love the community. So thank Thank you. Thank you for showing, those were fun videos, I guess is what I'm going to say. So next is our student rep reports. And the question for January was, how would you describe the relationships between students and teachers? What are teachers doing well and what can be improved? So between Cody and Emma, who would like to go first? Cody.
Good evening, everyone. As a Cascadia High School student, I firmly believe that the teacher-student relationships fostered at Cascadia High School have benefited my academic success and social-emotional development. This month, I had several one-on-one and group conversations with students discussing current and past teacher relationships and what traits may help incite positive teacher-student relationships. From these conversations, I've gathered that students value respect, flexibility, and support from their most trusted teachers. Cascadia High School teachers possess these three traits, but I believe the main incentive for students to foster beneficial teacher relationships is when teachers prioritize their students' overall success. Students are inclined to build meaningful relationships with teachers who care about them. Cascadia High School teachers build and maintain strong student relationships because they are passionate about guiding students to success while being mindful of their thoughts and feelings. From the student perspective, there is little room for change regarding teacher-student relationships at Cascadia High School.
I am a student at Black Hills High School, and a lot of the students that I had conversations with loved the teachers and adults at our school, that they have trust in relationships. They trust them to go to them if something happened. There were a few concerns that students did bring up, though. In our math classes, especially Math 3, we have 30-plus students in classes. Students do not feel like they have one-on-one time or even able to fully learn when there's 30 students in a class. That does go with English, too. English classes are very full, and with those two being so important, we feel like that's a lot of students in a class. A student also said that they feel like sometimes teachers don't trust them. If they hear something bad from another teacher, then they feel like they don't get a fresh beginning at the start of the school year. An idea from a student was that we have conferences to have one-on-one time with teachers at the high school level to develop a better relationship on one-on-one time.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the students? All right. Now we're going to move on to public comment. I'd like to remind members of the public that if you wish to address the board during the public comment portion of this meeting, you would have needed to fill out the public comment form available on the district website by noon today. If you missed the opportunity, you are welcome to sign up for the next meeting or email your comments to those of us on the board. Contact information is on the district website. The other thing I just want to mention is that this is the time for the public commenters to speak. It's not a time to engage, although it might feel empty after you speak. You know, we will thank you, but this is not the time for a conversation. So we are here to listen, and then we will be going on to the next speaker and then to the rest of our board meeting. So Becky, did you receive any submissions? Yes, you did. Will you read the name of the first person?
Just before we start, I just wanted to say that I just will be referring to everybody as staff if I'm mentioning anybody out of respect for their privacy. Oh gosh, okay, I am ready. Speaking about these deeply personal and traumatic events in a public forum is incredibly challenging, but I'm here to advocate for my son and for the safety of all students. In order to do that, I do believe that Bush Middle School needs to be held publicly accountable. On the first day of school, I received a call informing me that my son had a seizure. When I arrived, he was disoriented, vomiting, slurring words, had urinary incontinence, visible swelling and bruising on his face, and was holding his head. I was told that he had been off all morning, but that was a significant oversight as he had been experiencing absence seizures for over an hour before falling off of a bar stool and hitting his head on the tile floor. He lost consciousness before eventually going into a grand mal seizure. The staff described his breathing as shattered, which I clarified as not breathing. Despite clear signs of a life-threatening medical emergency, 911 was not called. Instead, my son was moved to a wheelchair and brought to the office. Knowing this was an emergency, I rushed my son to the hospital where he was admitted and unsurprisingly diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. He has missed 4 months of his 7th grade year and now faces a new seizure type, daily migraines, nausea, anxiety, the list goes on. In summary, my son is not the same, and the amount of medical visits and hospital stays he has due to this is a harsh reality. In addition to an IEP, my son has an emergency action plan and an emergency care plan, both of which were meant to ensure his safety. These plans were neither shared with his teachers nor reviewed by the staff responsible. This was a life-altering mistake as medical emergencies do not forgo the first day of school. This was entirely preventable. Guidelines set by OSPI are clear. In the event of a head injury, do not move the child. And in the case of head injury, seizure, unconsciousness, shock, or difficulty breathing, 911 must be called immediately. My son experienced all 5 and no emergency response was initiated. I am not overreacting when I say that this negligence could have cost him his life. I am respectfully requesting the following actions. Improve communication of teacher assignments. No more night before the first day of school schedule releases. Families should receive teacher assignments well in advance, allowing adequate time to communicate. This ensures every student is cared for from day one. Review of medical emergency procedures. I ask the district to review and strengthen its policies and procedures, confirming the schools are prepared at the start of each school year. Mandatory staff training. Due to the lack of sound judgment, my recommended training addition is reviewing each student's medical profile, ensuring a clear understanding of how to respond in the event of an emergency. No child should be at risk due to unprepared staff. Accountability for staff actions. Emergency first aid was not provided. My son couldn't even get an ice pack. Video footage shows a disturbing lack of urgency, which remains an ongoing issue, and despite the many clear signs of a life-threatening emergency, no 911 call was made and I was not informed timely, causing significant delays. My son could have died. How is risking a child's life grounds for continued employment? The staff member failed my child and they are at an extreme risk to fail another. Please accept this as my formal request that this results in termination for that staff member. The question I keep asking myself, and I hope you're now asking yourself, is did the staff need a dead child before they called 911? In closing, I'm asking for your partnership. What happened to my son is horrific. It is my hope that you will take these concerns seriously and take action to ensure that no other child has to endure what my son did. Thank you.
Perfect.
Right on the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Selena. Who's next? Oh.
Hello, my name is Sydney Reed. I'm school counselor at Peter G. Schmidt Elementary. I'm here tonight to highlight the critical role with our partnership with Together. It plays in supporting our students and families, and why it's imperative that we sustain this collaboration even amidst difficult budget cuts that the district faces. As a counselor, our focus is fostering students' academic, social, and emotional growth, but challenges our families face often extend far beyond what the school alone can address. That's where Together comes in. This partnership allows counselors like me to concentrate on student development while ensuring families have access to social services that they need. This year alone, Together has been instrumental in helping PGS families. Here are just a few examples. Gift card assistance, where supporting families with groceries and other essentials. Community contributions. Together facilitated over $2,000 in donations from staff and community, including furniture, clothing, shoes, and pantry items. Direct family assistance, over $2,500 in rental support to ensure that our families did not get evicted, over $1,100 for utility payments, almost $1,000 in car repairs to help families maintain transportation. Beyond financial aid, Together provides case management, eviction prevention, and move-in support, referrals for mental health, physical health, and domestic violence services, connections for food support, and other essential resources. Without Together, families facing eviction, housing instability, and other challenges would likely have to move out of this area. This would impact student enrollment in the district. Together ensures families remain fixed and stable, directly supporting student success while also protecting the district's financial health. This year, our partnership with Together made a life-changing impact on one of our families. The family had been homeless, living in long-term hotels, and spending most of their income just to cover the weekly rates. This left them unable to save for any additional expenses. Their child is a PGS student. He was struggling significantly with self-regulation. We implemented numerous interventions while also working closely with the family to provide support. Despite our efforts, the challenges persisted until Diana, our Together partner, stepped in. Diana worked tirelessly with the family, helping them to secure stable housing, providing financial assistance, moving costs for an apartment. She also supported them with furniture and move-in essentials. Once this family was stable and the child had his own room, first time ever, everything began to change. The child's stability at home translated to stability at school. Behavior previously required daily intervention, now dramatically improved. We barely respond to him maybe once every few weeks. This is just one example of the transformative work that Together has done in our community. I have countless stories like this. I strongly urge you and the district to continue this invaluable partnership. I urge you to consider the profound impact that they have. If you have any questions, please reach out to any counselor in the district to ask them. I would love to talk more about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney.
Hello. Let's go. Honorable members of the school board, distinguished guests, and colleagues, I stand before you today to address a serious issue of potential layoffs/furloughs within our classification staff. As you deliberate on this difficult decision, I urge the board to adhere to the existing contract between the classified workers and the union. This contract outlines a specific process for determining layoffs, ensuring fairness and equity for all affected employees. It includes provisions such as seniority, prioritizing layoffs based on the length of service, performance, considering employees' performance evaluations, qualifications, evaluation of the skills and the qualifications necessary for specific roles, reemployment rights, guaranteeing the rights of laid-off employees to be considered for future vacancies. By strictly adhering to the terms of this contract, we can ensure transportation and a transparent and just process for all classified workers. This will not only protect the rights of the employees, but also maintain a trust and respect between the district and the workforce. I urge the board to carefully review the contract and consider the potential impact of any layoff decisions on our staff, our school community, and the dedicated individuals who have worked tirelessly to support our district's mission. If you are unfamiliar with the wording in the contract, please feel free to email myself for a request. In addition, I wanted to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude for each and every one of us in our transportation department. Your dedication, your hard work, your incredible talent is what makes this team truly exceptional. We've achieved remarkable things together from last school year to this school year. But it's more than just success. It is the spirit of this team. It's the way we support each other. And when I say team support, I am referring to management, bus drivers, and most importantly, bus aides. The positive energy and the genuine care of the bus aides showed over the year has been an anchor to our success. Since the bus aides came on board, they have helped each bus driver meet the department's no late routes policy for the current school year. As the bus aides ride with our new drivers can focus on gaining confidence as a professional Class B driver, not to mention giving our new drivers education and insights on how to manage 40-plus students on a single bus. This level of dedication and teamwork doesn't happen overnight. It's a testament to their commitment and our commitment and their willingness to go above and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melinda Morrow, and I am currently a bus aide for the Tumwater School District. We received unfortunate news yesterday regarding the furlough of all of our bus aide positions as of August 31st, 2025. I am not confident that standing here today to speak will make a difference or impact decision to furlough the bus aides, but I had to give it my best shot and try. I saw a quote yesterday that said, "If opportunity does not knock, build a door." Speaking today is my attempt to build that door. I was told when I accepted this position that we are an extension of the classroom. Next to our drivers, we are the first contact of each student at the start of their day, and we are the last contact at the end of the day. My goal with the students is to send them into class with a better attitude than they entered the bus that AM, and this goes for the PM as well. I want them to experience a good and fun, safe environment on our buses. I would like to give a few examples of what a typical day looks like for a bus aide. Monitoring the safety of each student is one of the most important parts of our jobs. We ensure that the students are behaving and following the bus rules accordingly, while our drivers focus on driving and getting us to and from our destinations safely. We are the communication bridge between the bus drivers, students, and parents, relaying important information and addressing concerns that the bus driver may miss while they are driving. Some days we become counselors, being a non-judgmental sounding board for students that may be experiencing a tough time in the classroom or at home. Some days we are nurses, the bloody noses erupt or the barfing that takes place on the bus. 2 weeks ago, I had a female elementary student that was experiencing her very first menstrual cycle on the bus, and I was there to help her. Some days we are referees breaking up fights or disagreements that usually take place way in the back of the bus. So much goes on, but I only have 3 minutes. I would like to challenge each and every board member before making a final decision to cut the bus aides to do a ride-along. Make it in the afternoon when the students have been pumped full of candy and sugar and all the junk food at school. Lastly, I have spent 32 years of my career in a professional setting working for corporate America. I am very familiar with the low-hanging fruit method when needing to cut costs. I stand here today as a 55-year-old woman making $22.70 an hour, fully aware that this was my choice. It speaks volumes to the fact that I am not here for the money, but I am here for all the students. I will not be treated like low-hanging fruit or looked at like low-hanging fruit because I am so much more than that. Like my t-shirt reads today, I am a bus aide. What's your superpower? I am asking the board today to please reconsider your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I am also currently serving as a bus aide. I am fairly new to Tumwater, so I don't know the history of what has happened in the district to drive the budget into the ground. I understand there is now a need to make budget cuts because of previous history. I understand anything I say here and now may not make a difference in those decisions and may not change the fact that the job I love and rely on for survival is being eliminated. But I do have a question of why. Why, when there is a need to save money, do you go after the jobs of the people who are costing the district the least amount of money? We are in the trenches, as they say, with the children, just as the teachers are. Even as bus aides, we teach. We teach not only why it's important to obey safety rules, but also life lessons of why it's important to be aware of the impact your behaviors may have on those around you, and why it's important to be courteous of those around you. We teach the importance of ethical behaviors and plant the seed that such behaviors will serve their better interest. We set an example of caring for one's community. I know you are not arguing that we make a difference, but there could be repercussions you do not see in choosing to make the cuts from the bottom lower salaries rather than making adjustments from the top positions in the district that pay out the most money. For example, in transportation, as the bus aides are eliminated, you will find the bus drivers may become more frustrated with the sheer numbers of unruly children on their buses, and without the support of the aides, they may decide the stress is not worth it and find another job with their new CDL license. If that happens, their paid training will be yet another monetary loss to the district. You also run the risk of losing enough drivers that those who remain have to pull double shifts again. And when that happens, you will lose riders and you will lose money yet again because fewer students are riding out of frustration also. Moreover, it gives the appearance that in the overall scheme of choices, the most important thing is not the children or the workers who work directly with them, but the salaries of the upper administration in the district offices. I ask again as a self-reflection on those now in charge of making budget cuts. Why do you eliminate jobs? Why do you eliminate jobs to make budget cuts from the bottom lower salaries, just above the poverty level in some cases, rather than making meaningful adjustments to the six-digit salaries of the top positions that cost the district the most money? Are there other possible solutions less devastating to those on the lower branches of the tree being cut? I can only hope that the next generations we are trying to rear as a community will be wiser and more ethical than those who have come before them and contributed to this budgetary mess. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Alonzo, and I currently work in the Special Services Department. I've been with the school district. I actually started in 2008 as a para substitute at Michael T. Simmons. I've been in the position in Special Services for approximately 4 years, and I'm here this afternoon to share our department's concern regarding the proposed elimination of our Assistant Director's position. Some of you may be aware of the responsibilities held by the Assistant Director, but I understand that many may not fully recognize the scope of this role. The Assistant Director is responsible for just a few of the following duties. She oversees the special education process from students from birth to age 22. She oversees the extended school year program, which helps to provide summer services for those students most in need that could regress in their learning. Also, the home hospital program. We've managed, she and her assistant have managed our inventory, which has inventoried over 188 items with a value of over $42,500, and that's just the surface, doesn't even include any of our technology. She is responsible for the evaluations of 10 psychologists throughout the district, as well as the oversight of their processes. Not only the psychs, but she is responsible for 13 speech language pathologists and the evaluations for all of those students. She also acts as the principal for the Links department across the street. Those are just a few of the things. She's also integral in our safety net funding. Last year, the Special Services Department was able to come up with $1,459 in returned revenue for those most needy students. These responsibilities are just our designated duties on our organizational chart. The position also involves responding to numerous other urgent and unforeseen circumstances. The Assistant Director's work is invaluable to the staff and students. This position is assigned to the THS catchment, which includes approximately 593 students, 24 staff members, multiple SLPs, and psychs. Currently, there are 960 special education students in the district, with 11 students newly eligible within the last 6 weeks, and more waiting in the wings to be evaluated. Our special education population continues to grow. I hope it is clear by now how critical this position is to the functioning of the Special Services Department. It is completely unreasonable to expect that our executive director absorb these responsibilities while managing the current duties. Eliminating this position would be a disservice to our 960 special education students and the dedicated staff who serve them. It would be impossible to provide the level of support of service for our students and staff they deserve.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Sarah Rocha, and I am the support technician for Buildings and Grounds Department. I understand that tough financial decisions have to be made, but I'm here to express my strong belief that layoffs, specifically to support technicians, would have a lasting negative impact on our school district. As you know, support staff do much more than assist coordinators and directors. Behind the scenes, we handle the necessary tasks that help schools run. Personally, I am deeply involved in the upkeep of our custodial needs. Whilst my support coordinator manages district-wide facility use processing, entry, and communication, monitors the district's school duty applications, including FS Direct, Inventory Direct, and Maintenance Direct, and processes all of the Buildings and Grounds weekly credit card statements, purchase orders, and budget monitoring, I take the bulk of custodial responsibilities. That's filling positions district-wide for custodial absences daily, communicating and assigning custodians for district facility use following union contract guidelines, monitoring and following up with custodial time slips and leave entry, and managing communication via phone and email for any requests or concerns. If support technicians like myself were cut, the long-term consequences, disruptions to operations, increased workload on remaining staff, and a decrease in the quality of the educational experience are far too great. I urge you to consider these points carefully when making a decision. We need support staff to provide the essential services that keep our schools functioning. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you, Sarah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, everyone, for speaking and for listening quietly and respectfully. Next, we're going to move on to action items. Megan Dawson, Assistant Superintendent, will present a second reading on Policy 3141, non-resident students.
Thank you, members of the board. This is second reading of our non-resident policy 3141. It was brought forth to the board on December 12th. Most of the changes are edits to keep it in alignment with the WASDA model policy. The two changes that are worth noting is that history of school attendance is removed as part of the choice transfer process. And there was a statement about if the child had followed the required procedures for enrollment while previously enrolled, and we just took that out because it was also not part of the WASDA model policy.
Presumably, they did follow it if they actually transferred. That's what I thought when I read that. Right. Okay, thanks.
And so it is my recommendation that the school board adopt the updated policy 3141 at today's board meeting.
Thank you, Megan. Any questions for Megan? I had one question about removing, prior enrollment. What does that change in the process?
Mm-hmm. The part about attendance or the part about following enrollment procedures?
No, I thought there was something about, it's just about attendance. I thought it was about prior enrollment. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, both of those are removed per the WASDA model policy and guidance from our attorney.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion for action.
Make a motion to pass. Sorry.
3141.
Policy 3141 as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt policy 3141, non-resident students. Is there any discussion? I always forget that part. Discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I am having connection problems with Ty, so he's kind of coming in and out. So
Okay.
I'm not sure. And then, okay.
All right. Policy 3141 is approved as presented. So now we'll.
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Now we'll go to Mel Murray, Director of Facilities. He'll present on the Black Hills High School Wrestling Barn donation.
Thank you. This is a presentation about a donation of a building proposed by the Black Hills High School, the Black Hills Wolves Wrestling 501c3, which is a nonprofit that was formed by the Black Hills High School Wrestling Club. They're requesting formal acceptance of their donation by the board per district policy 4004. Their volunteer design team is prepared to submit documents for building permits from the city of Tumwater soon in order to start construction this year if approved. Black Hills Wolves Wrestling is covering all the costs associated with the design and construction of the building, so no Tumwater School District funds are being used or proposed to be used. The building, as proposed, is 4,400 square feet, 44 feet wide by 100 feet long. It'd be a well-built, small, light commercial building, typical construction you see in this area for what you'd see like a professional office or such. Concrete slab on grade with wood frame throughout, including roof trusses. 12-foot tall eave line and a vaulted ceiling inside, they're going up to 17 feet at the peak. Drywall covering all the walls except for mats on the lower walls and wrestling mats on the floor. Electric heat. Our main point of contact has been Stephen Kruger, a parent, assistant wrestling coach, and also a licensed architect in the state of Washington, and Nikki Nelson, who's the Black Hills High School athletic director. This new building would allow wrestling practice to be moved from the existing mat room in the building, which is overutilized by both wrestling, cheerleading, and the dance team, and also PE during the day, and requires mats being rolled out and rolled out for practice and rolled up at the end of practice for other uses. It's proposed to go behind the bus area behind Building B on what is a future portable pad, taking up one row of what would be future portables. And the understanding is that this, being a district building, if the donation is accepted, that the district could change the use of the building as it see fits in the future. There were some questions that were asked, and I have answers to them. So how is fundraising going, and do you have the ability to complete the project once construction started? And the answer was no construction will take place until the necessary funds have been secured through fundraising by the wrestling boosters. Another question that I had was concerning public works laws and donated construction projects. And they do understand the public works laws, and the main one is how prevailing wages either must be paid to workers or they must sign a document saying that they are donating their labor. So is there any use planned outside of wrestling season? As wrestling has grown to a year-round activity, like every other high school sport, there would be use outside of the high school wrestling season, mainly by Thurston County Wrestling Club, which is a combined youth club hosted both at Black Hills and Tumwater High School. Other activities would be after-school programs such as the Tumwater Rapids Youth Club and preseason high school competitions. Also, this room could be used for youth wrestling, team and/or booster meetings, and workouts during inclement weather or any other purpose Black Hills High School or Tumwater School District deems necessary in the future. It's basically a designed building and allows it to be used for many things. Is there any planned use during the school day? Currently, there's no other planned use, but as enrollment and program participation grow, having additional indoor space that can be used for student physical activity classes such as dance, aerobics, PE, athletic training, strength and conditioning would be advantageous, but not currently planned. At that point, if there are any questions or further.
Any questions for Mel?
I have one, if I can go.
Darby and then Emma.
One, maybe two. So you said electric heat, and I assume there's lights and power and all of that?
Yes.
So once the building is done being constructed, would the district pick up the costs for the energy?
Energy costs, yes.
Okay. And the second question is the other donated building that we have, the birdcage at Tumwater.
Yes.
Is that currently the district is paying? That was a
Yes.
donated building. The district is paying the
Yes.
energy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Emma.
Is this like going by the greenhouse, I'm guessing?
Yes, what's
Okay.
known as the hoop house.
Mel, is the maintenance of the building to be completed by the district over the years?
Maintenance of the building would be folded into the maintenance program of the rest of the building. It would be a district building.
And like the birdcage, I'm going to assume this is not going to impact our insurance.
We put it on our property insurance it adds square footage to our insurance, which we already have over 1 million square feet of insured property. So it's a negligible impact.
Other questions for Mel? I'll entertain a motion for action.
I'd like to make a motion to table this decision until a future meeting.
Is there a second? I'll second it. So we can go to, so it's been moved and seconded to table this for a future meeting. I second it so we can have a discussion about that. So, discussion. Do you want to make your case?
Sure, yeah. Well, it's not a case, but just as a reason why. But I think there's still some questions around the fundraising for the project. I'm not entirely certain how that's going to go. Also around the facility use of the building, and then also the actual formal donation approval. All three of these are tied to policies, and I still have questions around making sure we're following the policy and understanding exactly how this facility is going to be used going forward.
Director Taylor, can you say more about the policies that you're referencing?
Sure. Well, there's a fundraising policy for the district. There's also a facility use policy and procedure. The procedure, the way we did it for the other building, is my understanding, is used a modified facility use agreement to make it something equivalent to a memorandum of understanding almost. And I'd like to look at that a little bit more and understand it. And then the donation approval policy, we actually have two donation approval policies, and they conflict. That's not the issue here. The issue more is about what we're approving. And so this feels like we're asking to build it versus accepting the donation of the funds to build it as a whole. And so I'd like to get more information around that as well.
So I thank you for saying 4004. So there is a policy 4004 that says anything over $500 shall be at the discretion of the appropriate administrator or program. Oh, no, that's less, sorry. Shall have board approval. That's 4004. And then there's policy 6114 that says anything greater than $5,000 shall get board approval. So my question is, I understand why you're bringing this forward, Mel, because the donation is over $500 and you're following policy, so I appreciate that. But what I heard is that nothing starts until the complete donation, all the money that's needed to build the building is received. Is that correct?
That's what I understand too.
Okay.
So if I might add, we're putting this project in limbo for a while. I would like there to be some kind of a time period upon which we would gather more information and review it, not just leave it in limbo for who knows how long.
Yeah, I agree. Timeliness, Jill, is essential for this as well too, just to keep it going and moving and in sight, and not again leave them in limbo. So I believe we can resolve this rather quickly.
Okay. So what's your guess? A month or two, or 2 weeks?
I would say a month or two.
Okay.
Would be maybe even ideally sooner potentially. Yeah. Okay. I think it's a generous gift for certain, and so I think you'll find, generally speaking, the board, I'm not going to speak for them, but this is a great thing, and it's great for the kids in the district for sure. So I'd like to thank the group that's leading this. I know that's not easy, and it is a very generous gift, so I do appreciate that.
So you want it tabled because you want the MOU figured out before we accept a donation?
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable approving it once I get a better idea of the MOU, the three things I mentioned around it.
Yeah, so the MOU, the,
The MOU, facility use, the fundraising, clarifying that to make sure we're in alignment on that. And then, I'm sorry, the donation approval to make sure we're in alignment around that and the two policies. And then the other one was around fundraising. So if there is going to be fundraising for this, the district policy for fundraising, I know these off the top of my head. This one I don't recall. There needs to be a plan, and it needs to be, I believe, approved by the superintendent or a designee. So if fundraising hasn't started or it's in the beginning stages, we'd like to get an idea as to what that looks like and what the plan is for it.
have they given you the money already, Mel? And so,
They are not donating money, they are donating a complete building at the end of construction, just like the batting cage.
okay, all right.
There was no money that went to the district, it was a building at the end of construction.
So what we're approving is, the building before anything gets started. Okay, no, I got it. That, and you want to table that decision until those three things are addressed?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All right, so the motion on the table is to table this, this action until the next meeting.
The next meeting?
I heard.
I think we could, let's put it on, so let's talk about that. Okay, I think it's okay let's plan for it at the next meeting, and then if we run into issues, we can address it at that time, if it would be the one
So is that the
after.
February 13th meeting?
I think we can take action on the 13th, I believe, because
Okay.
we have the agenda. I would probably feel more comfortable doing it at the regular business meeting on the 27th, if I remember, if that's correct. 13th is pretty fast. So let me modify my
Motion?
My motion is to plan to bring this forward at the next board meeting on February 27th.
So you want to table it until February 27th?
Yes.
I'll second that. Okay. So the motion on the table is to table this decision until the February 27th meeting. Everyone clear on what they're voting on?
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
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 Is Ty on? Okay, so motion fails. So now I'll entertain a motion for action.
I move that we approve the action item of the donation of a building, the Black Hills High School Wrestling Barn by the Black Hills Wolves Wrestling 501c3.
I second it.
All right, any discussion on the donation?
I guess I'll just reference the rationale. I agree, it's weird that there's two policies that have different numbers in them, but both of them, this building is over both of them, so I don't see a conflict with that. And, yeah, I guess that's the only discussion I would share.
Questions, discussion? Jill? I'm sorry, I've only dealt with donations of money, so this was kind of a interesting one for me. So they basically want to know that we're going to accept it before they keep moving forward on. Got it. Okay. All right. Anything else? All those in favor of the motion that Darby made? Can't remember everything you said. Accepting the Black Hills High School Wrestling Barn donation, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. Now, Ben Rarick, Assistant Superintendent, will present on the Interfund Loan Resolution 062425.
There's no presentation for this, right? There's nothing further, right? Okay.
Good evening. So this was the Interfund loan was something that we brought to you at the last board meeting, and you have the cover letter in the packet in front of you with the resolution. So I'm just here to, we reviewed that at the last meeting, and I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have and go from there.
Questions? Actually, let's put this on the table. Is there any motion for action?
I move that we approve the Interfund loan resolution 062425.
A second.
Moved and seconded to approve Interfund loan resolution 062425. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to
Yeah.
do a quickie. So I'm not taking this lightly. This is a very difficult period for all of us. But we have no choice because we're short about $4 million, as I understand it. And we need the loan to keep things going so we can pay the bills, pay the staff that we have that we greatly admire. And we thank you for all your hard work and everything. But at this point, we did not get the growth in students that we thought we were going to. Thus, we got less funding, among other things. We funded programs. A lot of the programs, we would get 80% of the cost from the state. The other 20% we have to cover. We hired people in good faith. So I want you to know that we did it in good faith, thinking we could afford to do it. But with the student population not growing as we had expected, we're in this pickle right now. And as such, again, I'm not doing this lightly. It's something that we need to do, and we need to have a balanced budget. That's the way it works. And as such, that's all I have to say at this point. But just to let everybody know that these are dark times for us, and we will be moving ahead to try to do a better job.
Thank you, Jill. Any other comments or questions? So what we're doing here, if anyone, just in case you want to follow along, we're borrowing $4 million from our capital fund because we don't have enough money in our operating budget to pay payroll. So we have to do that for this year. And on top of that, we have to pay interest back to the capital fund. Basically, I call it Mel. We have to pay interest. I'm thankful to Mel for him being such a good steward. So we have the money to borrow in order to pay payroll. Did I miss anything on that, Kira?
No. Basically, we do need to borrow that from the capital fund for cash flow purposes.
Yeah.
Our money comes in differently each month from the state, and with the reserves that we have, we have to have the money from capital for cash flow.
Yes. Basically, Kira's saying we have to capital has to float us until we get our levy dollars in April. So, anything else? Yeah, Jill's right. This is tough, but I'm glad that we are able to do this. I'm thankful for that. So, all those in favor of approving the Interfund loan resolution 062425, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, resolution 062425 is approved as presented. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you.
Now it's Ben Rarick, who will present on the reduction in education program resolution 072425.
Ben, is there okay, sorry.
She even knows a question before he even gets it out. No.
Good evening, board members. I will be presenting to you on action item D of the agenda. It's actually two separate items that I'd wish to discuss, one which requires a vote and one which is included in the cover memorandum and does not require a vote of the board, but that the superintendent would like to make transparent to the board and the community. I'll start with the second one first, the one that does not require a vote, and that is that for the reasons that we have been going over since October, for the reasons that we need the interfund loan to begin with, the superintendent is making some recommendations for essentially freezing staff compensation increases for next year for administrators and non-represented staff. So it would be the superintendent's intent to develop a 25-26 budget that includes no salary increase for the two groups for whom we can recommend that without going to the collective bargaining table. That is the administrators, inclusive of principals, and non-represented staff. Second to that, the superintendent is recommending the implementation of a furlough day schedule. That is essentially what we could think of as a temporary pay cut for just administrators. Okay, so this would apply to all admin, and I'm making the distinction between admin and non-represented. So in this case, it's just admin inclusive of principals, but not inclusive of the non-supervisory level. This is just admin, okay? For next year, that staffing group would take 3 unpaid days of furlough, and then additionally, 2 positions, the superintendent and the assistant superintendent of finance and operations would take a 4th day. So that doesn't require a vote of the board, but that is by way of transparency. Now I'm going to switch to the second item, which is represented in Resolution 072425. That is the Reduction in Educational Support Program Resolution. It brings me no pleasure whatsoever to be bringing you this. And if I weren't in my position right now, I probably would have signed up to sit and speak with these folks and advocate for the importance of all that Tumwater School District employees do for students. And so to state right off, first of all, there are none of these positions that are being reduced because they don't matter. They all matter. All of these cuts will be difficult. They will all have an impact. There's no waste here. There's no fraud here. This is simply an issue of affordability. Our estimates right now, and apropos to the vote you just took, is that the district will literally run out of cash. You just let that sink in for a second. The district will literally run out of cash in the month of March. So unlike what you may have experienced in other municipal settings where there are budget cuts and people come and advocate for that, which I appreciate that everyone is here this evening. I really do. If there's ever a time to be involved in education funding, it is now. But the district finds itself in an extraordinary situation, one that has never occurred in this district before. So for that reason, with the guidance that the board has provided in the budget sessions, and the working on budget principles, and the idea being first to start on programs and services that are furthest away from the classroom and outside of schools. That is what we have done with this resolution. It represents 27 positions, which equates to 23.1 FTE. The estimated savings associated with the various parts that I've discussed with you this evening are roughly as follows. The positions themselves, approximately $2.3 million. The COLA freeze and the furlough put together in the range of $325,000, give or take. And so what the board can expect, and I believe that the superintendent has communicated, is that this is a first step in a multi-step process. I mean what I say when I say that I appreciate that everyone's here tonight. And I also appreciate that the same enthusiasm be brought to advocate on behalf of the Tumwater School District to the Washington State Legislature so that we can keep these services all of which have an impact, all of which are important. And so I just want an opportunity to say that. You're actually voting on the resolution itself, which is 072425. The exhibit is merely the attachment to that resolution. So your vote is on the resolution. And the impact is not immediate. To be clear, the impact is that you would be directing the district to not include these positions in next year's budget. So in some cases, depending upon the length of the contract of the position impacted, these valuable team members will be with us for 5, 6, or even 7 months, depending if it's an August 31st contract or a June contract. At this time, I would be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Ben? All right, I'll entertain a motion for action.
You want me to do it?
Go for it.
Okay. So, one thing, I'm.
You need to make a motion.
Motion.
You want me to, I don't get to say anything?
After the motion.
Until I let you have discussion.
Okay. So, I make a motion to freeze the COLA.
No, to approve. Approve reduction in.
So she's got a script. So I make a motion thus to reduce the educational program, which is embodied in Resolution 072425.
Is there a second?
I second the motion to adopt Resolution 072425.
Thank you. Now discussion. Jill.
So just to let you know, again, this is very important to us as a board. I shouldn't really speak for everybody, but I know it's important to me, and that one of the things that I'm training a young person in my profession, and one of the things I told him is that in a profession, a lot of times one of the greatest important things that one has is to be brave, and you have to make tough decisions when the times are tough. So I'm trying to ask all my co-board members that we need to be brave in this case. So I'll make a motion again. That's my motion, and ask for a second then.
Yeah, Darby seconded. Any other discussion?
I don't like this. I don't know if anybody here believes this, but I think you guys all found out more about these reductions than we did. We found out yesterday late as well too. So it doesn't make me happy. It's not a great day to sit up here, that's for sure. I wish other solutions could be identified earlier. I've urged action in this area multiple times throughout the last couple of years. I blame myself for not standing up more for what I believe. I don't know if that would have made a difference, but I still hold that to myself. The communication on this hasn't been the best in my eyes. I might have a different standard than other people, but I don't like the way that I understand this has to be done. Jill, you're right. It's a brave moment for sure. I just like to be more involved and transparent in the process. And I'm not going to say I feel ambushed, but this is certainly a little bit surprising. Maybe it's me being naive and realizing this was coming, but seeing the faces and the names attached to it makes it a whole lot different. So I just wanted to communicate that out.
Any other? Darby, do you have anything? No? I want to second Ben's point about the legislature. There are bills in the legislature. We don't get enough money for transportation. We don't get enough money for operating costs. We don't get enough money to do what our kids need. So we are at this point where we did a lot last year, and we got to this place for good reason. There are a lot of staff supporting our kids, and we can't afford it, unfortunately. there's no argument. We understand that every single person that works for us is needed for kids, and unfortunately, the legislature doesn't give us some money to do what our kids need. So, I also, this is hard because this is our community, and it's affecting our community, and our kids need this support, and unfortunately, the legislature doesn't recognize that. So, we're going to be doing what we can to make sure that the legislature understands what it's not just our kids. Every kid needs this across the state. We are not alone in this problem, and we are not alone in the needs that our children have. So we will be doing what we can to communicate that. But they're also in a budget crisis that they're trying to fill. So I have hope that there'll be no cuts. That's my hope right now, is that there are no cuts at the state level. Unfortunately, we have to right-size our budget because we were doing what our kids needed, and the state didn't come through for us. So yes, this is tough. I think the decision that were made last year to go over budget, $4.5 million, was not done frivolously. It was done out of a need to deal with behaviors that were going on, to support our staff that are trying to teach our kids. So I just want to be on record saying that I wish we didn't overspend $4.5 million, but I don't think we did so in a way that wasn't supporting kids. So if we hadn't gone over $4.5 million, we'd be having different discussions now, probably. I'm looking at Sydney. There'd be different behavior discussions. There'd be a lot of other things going on, and unfortunately, those are going to be coming. That's what's going to be coming next after these cuts, because all these people that we have hired support kids. We also cannot, the brave thing that we've got to do is make these cuts, because we cannot dissolve as a district, because that's the next step. So that's the brave thing that we're doing. Yes?
Speak one more time. So this is all not hopeless. Okay, very important to be looking ahead. So here's a sheet of things that we're working with the state legislature. Melissa and I are going to work with them.
Stay for our legislative report.
Yeah, and so what I ask is that if we, as a school district, that means all you folks, that we work together and make a promise to try to contact at least one of our legislators and let them know how important it is and how we are all hurting. And that would help if we all made a pledge to try to contact somebody with the state and explain to them our situation, that it really comes down right to the ground level. We, bus aides, everybody. I know the superintendent is taking a pay cut, so the top all the way down. And so I just asking you, please, not to lose hope, but to be influential and be able to take a moment or two to try to communicate with our folks up at the state level.
All right, thank you. So now I will, all those in favor of approving the reduction in education program resolution 072425, please signify by saying aye.
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 And Director Keel has been on this during this presentation, so
All right,
yes,
so
he votes.
he's also aye. All those opposed? Dr. Taylor, were you an aye, or you were just, Dr. Taylor is abstaining?
Yep. Okay.
And then Director Kaikkonen has to leave, so I'm glad we were able to get that in. So now we're going to move to reports to the board. I did not do a good job last time. I loved listening to Zach Suderman, but it's only supposed to be a 10-minute presentation. I did not do a good job reining him in. I just love listening to him. So Kim Dowdy and Tamara York will present school improvement plans. Tamara's first. All right.
Okay.
Tamara, thank you. It's 10 minutes, and I have to keep you to 10 minutes.
Hello, thank you for having me share. It's good to be here. As the new principal at Little Rock Elementary, I've drawn on insights from the staff, established systems, and data to guide the development of the 2024-2025 school improvement plan. To provide context, I will begin by reviewing our 2023-2024 results, disaggregate the data, and explain the rationale behind our goal making for this year. While I will address attendance, behavior, and social emotional learning, the primary focus will be on course content. All right, to better understand our progress and identify areas of focus, I'd like to share key observations from our school assessments. These results highlight both the successes and challenges we've encountered across grade levels and subjects, providing insights into how we can refine our strategies moving forward. The 2023-2024 School Improvement Plan core performance goals were measured by District Math Screener, which you see on the right-hand side of the screen. Kindergarten showed exceptional growth. They went from 63% in the fall to 100% in the spring.
Wow.
This
That's
indicated,
good.
targeted supports were working and very effective. Grades 1 and 2 also showed strong improvement. First grade improved from 64% to 92%, demonstrating steady progress. Second grade also made good gains, jumping from 32% to 91%, suggesting the focus support had also significant impact. Grades 3 to 5, there was noticeable but varied growth. Third grade increased from 29% to 51%, reflecting moderate progress but leaving room for improvement and reflection. Fourth grade also showed a jump from 1% to 53% on that assessment. Fifth grade also achieved some meaningful growth, rising from 16% to 61%. So looking at that school improvement plan and the results there, I also then took a look at our SBA data for 2022-2023 school year, and then also the growth that was made up to the 2023-2024 school year to look at those assessments as well. The SBA results for 3rd through 5th grade, students revealed steady improvement in overall ELA scores, increasing from 57.7% up to 60.6% in 2023-2024 school year. However, the data showed some variation by gender, enough to take a look at. Females experienced a slight 1.4 decrease, while males saw a significant 7.1% increase. In math, overall performance decreased on the SBA by 4%. This decline was more pronounced among female students, who saw 6.2 decrease compared to a 2.2 decrease for males. This data trend also is what we're seeing in the school district as well, like in general. So in order to make informed decisions for my school improvement plan, I wanted to kind of look into the data to see specifically where we could pinpoint growth areas. So I looked into our performance trends among specific student populations. There was a mix of outcomes. Hispanic Latino students experienced a decline in both ELA, 6.3%, and math, a 16% decline, highlighting a need for a stronger support, particularly in math. On the other hand, students of 2 or more races showed significant growth in ELA, 7% increase, indicating the effectiveness of literacy strategies. Math performances, however, remained at 50%, which is stable, suggesting that while support's consistent, we also need to look at our approach with strategies there as well. Shifting to our programs and student characteristics. The data highlights both positive progress and areas where continued supports are needed. Low-income students demonstrated moderate gains in ELA, 7.2%, and in math, 3.2%, reflecting positive momentum. Students with disabilities made progress in ELA at 6.4%, and in math as well with 1.8 increase. The smaller math gains did underscore the need for more targeted instruction and scaffolding to enhance math achievement. It is important to note that there was insufficient data to identify trends within our multilanguage learner category.
By that, you mean there's just not enough students in the multilingual?
Correct. Yeah, from the 2022-2023 school year. So I can go off last year's data to help this one for this year. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is where I kind of got all of my information. That's the context. And so building all of the data we've reviewed, we use this information to set our goals for the 2024-2025 school year. To close the gaps that I just spoke on, Little Rock Elementary will continue to prioritize data-driven decisions, refining our intervention strategies and offering professional development to strengthen our instructional practices. The focus will remain on sustaining growth in ELA while expanding resources to balance math support, which seems to be our biggest need right now, and meet the diverse needs of all of our students. The goals we've set are based on current percentages for each skill and review a past performance at each grade level. We've set conservative goals with the expectation that we can and we will surpass as many of them as we can. This year, we have a school-wide walk-to intervention in our reading program for kindergarten through fourth grade students with strategic intervention in grade 5. In addition, we're implementing times within a day to support our most at-risk learners, as identified earlier, with a second intervention as needed.
You have 3 minutes left.
Okay. The implementation of this, who's leading the work, classroom teachers, intervention specialists, we're doing it as a team. We're doing it through the framework of MTSS, which I think Kim Dowdy will speak to more after me. We do cycles of inquiry. We do tiered interventions. So our intervention 1 is through universal supports, core instruction for all students, students engaging in high-quality, standard-based curriculum, ensuring access to grade-level content and learning opportunities without segregation by ability. Instructional practices, teachers employ differentiated instruction, and as I mentioned, our PBIS positive intervention school-wide. Tier 2 is our targeted support, so students who are below grade level by 1 year that can use support, and so we do small group instruction, walk-to model, check-in, check-out. We also do flexible grouping that we do 6-week data and assessments in order to move them from group to group as well. I do want to mention that we also tie in family engagement is a huge priority at Little Rock, and we just launched a new program, Watchdogs, to help also implement some of these strategic plans with our students. It's a collaborative effort. Our approach is to build on teamwork. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what? There is one more slide, so let me show you that really quick. We just finished our winter data collection. I have put in some of that. You might see it reflected on the online version of the SIT plan. And our math, there is growth at every grade level at this point, and we're getting our reading put in and will be reviewed next week.
Wow. Impressive. Questions?
I just have a comment on perspective. So 20 years ago, when my kids were in the school district, I was an adult volunteer for the curriculum committee. And so at that time, Little Rock just was really, their results on things similar to what you're showing, that they showed a lot of improvement in K through 3. And similarly, in 4 through 5, their growth was less. So we're still struggling with the same problem from 20 years ago. So my thinking is what do we do to change that? And one thing I did notice was the involving parents more with the older kids, the 4th and 5th graders. So I think that watchdog thing, that might be very helpful for things. But just to kind of give you that perspective that, or possibly are our goals too high for 4th and 5th graders? That's another thing. So, but again, I think you have a real key factor there of getting more parent engagement, where the kids still let their parents be involved, not turn them off as they will do when they get to middle school.
Yeah, we had 48 parents volunteer.
Awesome. That's
so,
really good.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, get out. Thank you.
Yeah, I will add on, great job, Tamara, by the way.
Thank you.
For the presentation. Can you give us a 30-second overview of your reading intervention program? When I was there earlier this year, I was just flat out blown away, so.
Yeah.
Do that in 30 seconds.
Oh, wow. Well, and kudos to my lap position, my teacher. Actually, she just retired early, and so she ran a program for 10 years. It's a school I'd walk to model that blows me away. I've been in 4 different elementary schools here in the district, and it's the first time I've seen it school-wide implemented. So all students are assessed with our reading program, varied by grade level, and then they take every single student and then they break them up in groups of about 6 to 8. So it's a huge effort between our paraprofessional staff and grade level teachers. And then they do a 6-week intervention with those, a 30-minute pull out, like kids are walking, to different groups. And then after 6 weeks, they do a testing. And then based on growth or kids staying the same, they move groups around. So it's all based on cycles of assessment.
It is a well-oiled machine. They have every kid's file out there. It's broken down by grade, and it's very impressive. I encourage anyone else to get out there and take a look at it.
Yeah.
I also want to point out one more point. Great job on engaging the community and volunteers. I brought this up before during SIPs, and I'm not going to say it fell on deaf ears, but you are doing a great job in engaging the community and encouraging volunteers. I think we can all agree, like Jill maybe mentioned it too, engaging parents in the community more is only going to help in these scores. So great job in that area.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Kim Dowdy, Peter G.
Thank you,
Schmidt,
Dr.
elementary principal. Hey, Kim, I remembered, on my way here today, the email that I wanted to send you this weekend, which was, I saw 23 slides and I heard in 10 minutes. The slides at the end, I love the slides at the end. I just don't want to lose the slides at the end.
No.
Because those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a lot in here, but it's just foundation. I'll try to go through quick if you don't know me. Tamara, I have to say with Tamara was at Peter G. and did a lot of our presentations because, as you can tell, she's real professional and precise. Mine's a little bit more colorful and it's all over the place, which is me. So, and Brittany is with me. I just want to make sure I highlight because it's a team effort at Peter G. and I get to have her beside me. So,
Hold on now. Where did it go?
this better not be counting as my 10 minutes.
It's not counting. I'm counting it against Kevin.
You need to do your, like you do it.
Oh, okay. So we're going to talk just about, I know that the board was really looking at kind of our course content goal, and so that's going to be our focus, but there's a lot of foundation that has to happen with course content. This year, one of the things we looked at, and you're going to hear a lot on cultures, learning, and systems. Well, not too much because that's 10 minutes, but I put in some links for you just to know as a board kind of where we're at. This year, our theme is Be a Human Lighthouse. It was modeled after Steve Pemberton's, and it was all about being a lighthouse for kids. And one thing we found out was our staff, when we did Panorama survey last year, was struggling in a sense of belonging, which has always been a really big part to Peter G. And we recognized that we had brought on 2 new programs. We grew to about a staff of about 78. We're in 3 different buildings because we've outgrown our big building, and we recognize that. So every teacher is a part of a lighthouse, and it's cross grade levels. We do various activities just to really build camaraderie and community because that's important. As you know, the priority areas, and I have all the different goals in there. I talked about the realities of it, as well as the SIP is connected. As Tamara spoke, my winter data is starting to be poured into there, so you'll get to see that. And then our title plan as well. The one that I'm going to focus on is our course performance. And what we really noticed in our data last year and intentionality was we aren't meeting the kids where they're at in the tier 1 focus. When we really looked at it, and I broke it down into grade levels, I think it's 57 across, 57% were reading at grade level by the end of the year, and that's a problem. It's a nationwide problem, but we really tried to focus and drill down. So that's kind of our focus area goal. Again, just looking at the different tiers. I'm not going to touch too much on this. Andrew's been really working on this, but really trying to get it to an 80% in that tier 1. A tier 2 is usually they are 1 grade level below, and then or tier 3, 1 to 2, sometimes 2, depending on the grade level, and then that 3. And we're flooding tiers, so we can't support the kids who really need it, and that was something we recognized. So what did we have in place? We talked about these are important foundations we already had in place moving into the school year. Our staff is always present in the halls, meeting students at the door. We try to set the tone of the day. We have social emotional built into our schedules every day. Schedules are posted in classes. That's a super strategy for trauma-informed practices. We have buddy boards, mindfulness corners in all classes with the restorative room. We've really been intentional about our staffing using our title funds to increase our counselor support, because what we recognize, like Jill talked about, our 3rd through 5th, we're not getting it because our K through 2 kiddos kind of suck more energy. And then something that changed this year was we took some of our funding and we created a 0.5 coordinator for MTSS staffing, that she really looks at our data, digs down deep, how Tamara was talking about her person. When you have a school of 607, you kind of need someone that's really intentional in that. And other things, intentional schedule with WIN. Again, that's kind of a walk-to model that every students are getting what they need. It's what individuals need for ELI math. And then data focus and reflection are constant, with our coordinator of the MTSS leading a lot of that. UDL strategies. Shelley Moore actually did a coaching with us. If you haven't seen Shelley Moore in 5 more minutes, I encourage you to. And then we were just recognized for one of the first schools in Washington State for the mobile MTSS, supported schools for reporting data, and you'll get to see some of that. We look at everything through the cycle of inquiry, constantly reflecting on where students are showing us they know, how are we knowing they know, and what are we going to do with it. I talked about the school leader paradigm already, that schools are built on culture, learning, and systems, and how you're constantly reflecting and assessing. This is just our overall data. I just included this in there. I do have disaggregated data too, but if I have questions at the end, I can see if I can fill more in on that. I really felt like this was important. Our kids showing up in kindergarten, this was kind of an alarming slide to me on just watching that we aren't getting the kids we used to get. I have one of our kindergarten teachers sitting back there, and our kindergartners are now expected, and this starts in 2015, and if you aren't familiar with that, that's when all kindergarten had to go to kindergarten full days, and kindergarten is no longer play-based learning. They have to learn 113 words by the end of the year, and they're reading. They're not playing very much anymore, as much as they used to. And now there's a law passed that they don't even have to come to us toilet trained, that's teacher expectations. So just a lot I think it's important to look at. And again, this is just what those 6 areas are showing us readiness. And then I also broke it down into our varied populations to see is there much discrepancy. And it's kind of all over the board the same, but we aren't getting kids who are ready for kinder. So we're spending a lot of time on working on that. Foundational skills, I included SBA, but the one I took was the one because we are focusing on those percent levels on the different tiers. And so that's broken up. A lot of information, I know, but I felt it was crucial. We still are pretty consistent in the middle. And if you look at like the really below grade levels, we're lower, but we need to get that even higher because that again is flooding those tiers. And we did a book study on street data. And when I talk about street data, I got to get back to that. Street data is satellite, us versus state testing. I would consider this a street data. It's really global. And then I'm going to dig it down to level 2 where we really look at our district assessments, and that's where we really do some of our action work. We did this video, and again, I included it. We talk a lot about motion versus action, that motion is saying wanting a goal, but action is really the work behind it. And those last 3 slides I hope to get to really highlight that. Again, just looking at different types of data. And again, you're looking at the student learning data as one component, and we focus a lot of our schools on the student learning data, where how are we making students feel, and who are the students we're getting. Again, these are just some different evaluate your impact. We're constantly in reflection and thinking about how to make it better. Then I broke it down. This is broken down into, and this is our MTSS coordinator did this on where our students should be. These are different screening, our benchmarks that we use are benchmarks 3 times a year for reporting. And some of them are like LNF means letter naming fluency. PSF is phonemic segment. And then non-words fluency, and that means correct letter sounds, and then words read correctly. Pre-DDS is just your pre-decoding skills. And so I just put all grade levels in there, just as time, if you have some leisure time at night, you're welcome to study it. But again, we're recognizing that we have too many in that red.
Yeah.
And we need to grow that red, which we have. Our winter data is, right now, our 2 people are entering it as we speak, spending that night late so that teachers have it for report cards tomorrow. Again, there's 4th and 5th. And so with that, we know we're flooding the system with red and yellow. And how do we move and get most of our students to green? We made some changes this year. And we included some links that you're welcome to look at. Our data analysis protocol that we're doing 6 to 8 week cycles like Tamara talked about, and our core review. Our MTSS coordinator led that and found the skill that the kids weren't working. Because when you say students aren't reading at grade level, what does that mean? What's the foundational skill you're really getting at? So that is some documents you're welcome to look at. So one we did make was our reading focus, and really she helped drive. Their goals were tied to it. Their student growth goals, our STIP, everything is tied this year in that course content area. And then in tier 2, what changes did we make? And we talked about, we changed our format on when our students get to sit, student intervention team. So I'm a teacher, my student is struggling. I've tried every intervention I can do in class. I'm going to bring it to the building problem solving team. Mm-hmm. Well, that was really teacher driven. So it depended as a kid who you had as a teacher sometimes. It depended on like teacher tolerance. And so now we're really being intentional, and we're looking school wide, and it's getting brought up through. It's a super cool document that we've created this year. So, and they meet every 2nd and 4th Thursday in the month. So constantly talking about kids, constantly looking at data. And then our 3rd one we made was we recognize that there's students, that red is nowhere near 5%, but that's what we have to focus on first. So we're how much is 5% of Peter G's kindergarten, how much? And those students are getting triple dipped, like Tamara talked about, where we call it strategic intervention. And we're tracking those assessments. What you see on the bottom is that supported schools. It tracks behavior, but it also tracks academics. It tracks celebrations. It tracks everything. So that's just kind of the work we've done there and the changes we've made according to the data that we received last year. Again, really busy. Sorry about that. And then these are our basic 3, the changes we made to that 80% on the grade level or the tier 1, the yellow for our tier 2 changes, and then up to the tier 3. This is a real busy chart. I didn't make this, but that kind of puts it all in one spot and talking just about what we're trying to get with kids and how often we're reflecting. And it's also a guide for our staff so that we're all deliberately doing the same thing. And then what we're going to do moving forward, right now we're in winter data collection. They are finishing testing today, which we're actually even reflecting on how much tests we give kids, because I know, sorry kids, we give you a lot of tests. But we are finishing that up. That will be given to teachers tomorrow for report cards. We'll be meeting on Monday for team planning. We meet 3 times a year, and we meet continuously, but 3 times a year with our big team. That means all grade level teachers, the title lap team, ourselves as administrators, and we're making informed decisions on what group they're in, what supports they may need. And then we will have a spring data collection again. And they're constantly changing groups. Kids can exit out based on, because they progress monitor them weekly. And then team meetings with data will happen on June 9th for our final, and then end of year review with site team June 5th, and we're gonna see such remarkable progress. We'll make a new SIP outline. So that's kind of the work we're doing at Peter G around our course content. Sorry, that was real fast.
10 minutes, that was perfect. Thank you. Questions? Questions?
Yeah, is your kindergarten data trending the same as the district as a whole, or?
I would say so. It's pretty, we have about, I think, I don't know if I have this year's, I think I had this year's in there. Yes. It's showing that kids are you talking about the kindergarten readiness screener as a whole?
Yeah.
First couple?
Yeah.
Yes.
In the beginning.
Yes. You hear my
Everyone's
counterparts out
yeah,
there.
it's familiar. Yeah. Everyone's here.
Interesting to see with TK now.
Use the microphone. Use the microphone.
Now that we have TK,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how that impacts to some of our kindergartners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we just started our TK in January at Michael T. and Peter G. It's been really exciting. 15 very anxious and ready 4-year-olds, and it's they're already eating out of lunchroom, everything. So I'm excited because they're learning skills, and they say that when you watch a program like that, their end outcome is phenomenal. And that is play-based. It's basically kindergarten. What it used to look like prior to 2015. So that's one of my pushes, is just letting kids be kids when they're 5. And that's a state problem. And that's why on February 11th, I'll be on the Capitol campus. Just planning that date for all you.
I just had a clarification. So did I hear you right, that you have a lot of kids come that they're not potty trained yet, but then by the end of the year, they're supposed to be able to read more than 100 words? Okay. Those are high expectations from coming at that level.
Today we had 2 pull-ups that were jammed in our urinals because kids had taken them off. That's the reality of.
And these are the 4-year-olds or the 5-year-olds?
These are 5. Our 4 are all potty trained.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, we have our population that has, that might have a special need, that there's reasons for it. But these are just, most of them are our gen ed students that we're being required to potty train.
I did not know that. All right. Emma, Cody, questions? No? You guys are very data oriented, so it spoke to me. And so I really appreciated just looking at the tiers and looking at how far off, we are, and how much work the teachers are doing to get them on track. And it's just a lot of work. So appreciate the use of data to get there. I know eventually we want to figure out how to support you with curriculum and all of that once we get out of this budget.
I will say the new curriculum, if I can speak to that, when Tamara was even speaking to, we have our reading intervention teachers are using phonics for reading, and by Anita Archer, and it's phenomenal. I went into an observation, and they are seeing, my teacher's been in it for a long time, and she cannot even believe the progress they're making.
Oh, great.
And then the teachers that are part of the adoption cycle for the Wonders, because we had outdated material too.
Right.
I can't even tell you how long that reading material was. But they are speaking so highly of the critical thinking skills that it requires. So we've had really great feedback from, because I would say that also plays a huge part in Tumwater as a whole. In the elementary is our poor curriculum, outdated, no one's fault. It's just been kind of a thing that's been pushed off.
So what's the new one called again? I'm sorry.
It's the new Wonders. It's the updated Wonders, but the reading intervention is called. Go ahead, you speak.
Phonics for reading.
Phonics
For reading.
And he says by Archer?
Anita Archer.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Kira Acker, Director of Financial Services. Present on our financial services update. Good, me keeping everyone on time. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Emma. I appreciate it.
I'm here.
Tough crowd.
Hey, Emma Steph, I'm sorry. I don't know why I did this. It's iReady Magnetic. The new curriculum. I don't know why I said Wonders.
The new
It's
curriculum
called
is iReady.
Magnetic.
iReady magnetic.
Magnetic reading.
Okay.
You have the clicker.
I do.
I thought you were saying you were magnetic, Ben. No. No, that's not true. Right. All right, Kira.
My stuff isn't quite as much fun. I know, I'm sorry.
But it's colorful. Thank you.
It is, yeah, it is colorful. So good evening. I'm back to share, in the packet is our November and December financial statement, and I skipped forward to December just to show a few highlights, and then talk a little bit about enrollment. But as you know, each month kind of builds on itself, so I thought I would just skip forward to December. And a couple things I wanted to share here. We were talking earlier about our Interfund loan, and this budget status report for December really shows we have a $1.9 million fund balance. In cash, it's about 1.3. So that's really, that's what we've been looking at for the last few months. And each month, our budget status reports are showing that our projections are coming to fruition, and we're not seeing any surprises. We feel really comfortable with the numbers. So, looking at our ending fund balance just for December itself, up above in the purple, you can see the 8.4. That's the revenue that we received this year or this month from the state. I'm going to just skip ahead here to our salary and benefits. For December itself, our payroll itself was $8.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
So we received about the same amount in our from the state as we do just for payroll alone. So that kind of gives you an idea of why that cash flow is so important. And then skipping forward to our MSOCs, we spent, which is material supplies and operating costs.
Thank you.
We do everything in acronyms. I have to train myself. So our supplies were at 1.5 million. So that's, each month we just dip farther and farther into those reserves and into that cash. So that's why that interfund loan was so important. So really the gist of what I'm sharing is that we're grateful that we'll have this interfund loan and that we'll be able to have that cash flow so that we can meet those contractual obligations. Here's our capital fund, and that was one of the questions is our loan from Mel. Thank you, Mel, for the loan, if he's still here. Capital projects right now is at $14.5 million, so there is enough in that. That was one of the concerns, so wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions about the financial statements that I can answer? No?
All right. Nope.
Okay.
Enrollment?
Yeah, I'm going to just...
Is there anything else on? No? Okay.
Yeah.
1 second.
Go. Okay. So this is where we're at as of January. You can see there the black dotted line is our K-12 average FTE for budget, which is at 5763. And the dark blue line there is our K-12. So we are, I believe it's about 40 under budget, 39 under budget. 50, 27, yeah, 40, about 49 under budget, which is about, in revenue, is about $400,000 off from budget. So those are also things looking at, that's just the K-12 arena, but Running Start and Skill Center, as you can see, those two, and those are completely separate from the chart above. But those are up from budget from 470 at New Market, and I've separated out our New Market TSD, our Tumwater students, is that second 156, and then the 353 are from other districts. So that's growing rapidly as well. So anyway, is there any questions about enrollment?
We're way off on the budgeted for the Running Start
Yes.
to actual.
Yes.
So we're going to do better on that.
Yes, we've been having lots of conversations about that and working together as a team to make sure that we capture Running Start in budget.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions?
Questions about enrollment?
So I have a dumb question.
No questions, dumb.
So if we don't count the Running Start money, if we don't get it, then does it stay, for example, at South Puget Sound Community College? Do they get it?
As far as, I'm sorry.
What do you mean get
So-
what?
So if we don't count those kids as FTEs, so that the money that would go to them from the state, then does that, if it doesn't come to us, Does it go to South Puget Sound Community College?
No, so the students have to be enrolled
Mm-hmm.
with us. We receive the funds, and it's just a flow-through to
We
the
just
college.
pay a bill from South Puget Sound
So we,
when they
we,
show
we,
up.
we put the money, we give the money then to, we transfer it to South Puget Sound Community College.
We pay a bill.
Yeah,
Okay.
they invoice us for all of our students that have gone.
Okay, that's similar to what I was saying, except that it doesn't go directly to them, it flows through us to them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so we still don't get the money.
No.
No.
Right. We get a little bit of a.
That's the bottom line.
An indirect, yes, a small indirect, but it doesn't.
So, so the problem with us under projecting Running Start means we think more of those students are going to stay with us. So we get double whammied.
So we're having to send more money.
Yeah,
on
so
them.
so now they don't stay with us and we got to go pay a bigger bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was concerned about.
Yeah.
That was my thought.
Yeah.
Yes. So we do, we've seen quite an uptick this year in partial FTEs. So there's full-time Running Start, which is about 85 students, and there's about 178 that are partial FTEs.
So just taking one or two Running Start classes?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So we're looking into how we can capture those students to stay with us.
Yeah. Great.
Yes. For sure.
Yes, Emma.
When was this last updated? I know it says January 2025. Like, do you know what day?
So count day is the fourth school day. I think the fourth school day.
Okay,
So last week?
Couple weeks ago.
Week before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All right.
Anything else, Kara? Oh,
No. I'm good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
all right. The non-magnetic Ben Rarick presenting on Yelm Tumwater School District Boundary Petition Overview.
Good evening, board members. It's my pleasure to present to you about a petition that was recently filed from citizens of the Sunwood Lakes community. You have a comprehensive memo in your packet. And in the interests of full disclosure, this will be the first time I've been through this process too. So I did a little bit of reading and research on my own just to understand this for the first time. But in essence, what has happened is that there are a clustering of homes in the Sunwood Lakes community that have essentially petitioned the Educational Service District to switch from the Yelm School District to the Tumwater School District. Interestingly enough, I hope some of our transportation colleagues are still at the meeting because one of the reasons that these citizens have petitioned to be part of the Tumwater School District is the reliability of the transportation program
Oh, wow.
in the Tumwater School District. So that's interesting. There is an entire process set out in statute here, and in your packet, I think it's the second or third link, is a memo that was sent from the ESD superintendent, Flint Herndon, to the superintendent. And it basically says, okay, we have verified these addresses. More than 50% of the addresses included in the zoning question have signed, therefore it's certified. And so now the two districts are supposed to get together and negotiate. And one of the things that is required is that the board have a negotiated designee. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Superintendent, one of the things you were looking for was for the board to designate somebody as the negotiator. It's an interesting process. So there are a number of different potential outcomes. Districts can agree. One can say, yes, we're willing to take on the zone, and the other district can agree, yes, we're willing to give up the zone. Or the districts can agree to disagree or just disagree. Those are actually separate designations.
Oh.
And in the event that the districts disagree, it can be referred to the regional committee. And there is a regional committee set up for the purpose sort of arbitrating these disputes if districts are not able to agree. So for this evening, the action would be to agree to a designee for the board to meet with probably the superintendent and a similar designee from the Yelm School District. And then the 90-day deadline is the clock is ticking. The designated deadline is March 20th of 2025. Either district has the ability to request a 30-day extension, but the presumptive deadline is March 20th. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
I've had Ty reach out to volunteer already, just FYI.
He fell off here again, but
Okay. Well, he let me know.
it's always perfect to nominate someone that's not here.
Yeah. That's how it works. Are there any questions for Ben?
And I'll add one other fact, which is that I would encourage you to read page 3 of their petition, which includes the reasons. I took some pleasure in reading the one about transportation, but the other one, they note the failure of the levee in Yelm. They're rerunning their levee very shortly, so I don't know if the outcome of the rerun impacts in any way on the citizens' desire to continue the request, but that presumably would all come up in the negotiated phase.
Are they rerunning it in February?
I believe so.
The petitioner, the person that I think coordinated this, did request to do public comment tonight, came in after the deadline, and so we acknowledged that this wasn't going to be much of a discussion about approving this or not approving this tonight. So I think there'll be a time, if needed, for petitioner impact or an opportunity to talk to whoever the designees are and maybe get that group together.
I was just going to say, that's something that Ty could do.
They would be part of that. I think in a collective, in that meeting where we have the group together to negotiate, we could open a community forum side of that to hear petitioners or people against. If you offer an opportunity, you have to allow both sides to speak. It's not required.
Okay, great. Everyone okay with Ty doing it?
Yeah, you don't have to take a vote. I think it's
No,
one of those we'll
yeah.
assign, and we'll reach out to Ty in terms of coordination.
Okay, great.
This will return to you at a future date.
Thank you. Wendy Bromley, Executive Director of Human Resources, will present a draft of the 25-26 school calendar. Yay! We get it early enough to have some input.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that, Wendy.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I just in full transparency, brought Liz Masanago to come to talk about the strong starts. What you'll notice, though, is that the calendar looks very similar to this past year, except for there's a new format. And so if you'll notice, it got turned, and that was
I know.
sort of,
I couldn't find September for a second.
Right? Yeah. So there was, a new format to it, but really, there's not a whole lot of changes. Everything pretty much stayed the same, just new dates in the year. But one of the things that the board did agree to bring back last year was strong starts. I wanted to bring somebody who was in the trenches with strong starts to kind of talk about whether that was something that was valued by those schools and whether we should continue that practice. So based on some data. So if you'll indulge us for a minute, I'm going to have Liz talk.
And before I get started, I did want to, I have cards for the board here for School Board Appreciation Month, and I have marigolds, and I want to share with you why marigolds. And it kind of goes with being brave and supporting each other. So we at East Olympia started a marigold campaign, and did you know that marigolds are called companion plants? And they repel pests, attract benefits or beneficial insects, creating a healthier, more vibrant garden ecosystem. So we've started teaching students about marigolds, and we've encouraged all of them to be marigolds, and we had a group of our social emotional kinder and first graders make you guys some marigolds. So I'll pass those out at the end.
Thank you.
So on to Strong Start. Strong Start is one of, if not the one benefit that came from COVID. That's where it originated, but it taught us a lot about that designated time to create relationships with families. We did put out a survey this year to both staff and families, and we had 70%, both staff and, or around almost 70%, 69.1% of staff said that this was absolutely beneficial. We want to keep it, that the most important aspect of it was the opportunity to build relationships with those families. We all remember the ice cream socials. We love those. Parents still love those. And they also find huge benefits to this. During those ice cream socials, when parents are coming and kids are coming to bring in their supplies, there's sometimes 28 families and kids in a classroom that fits 24. And it is packed, it is busy, it doesn't give teachers or students the time to really connect. So the benefits that came from parent voices were opportunities to meet the teacher, aligning expectations, talking about our specific family needs without monopolizing the teacher time during a full group event. It helped my child to feel more secure, meeting their needs, having that one-on-one time. That was the main thing that was reiterated by parents. We got to ask questions, and then another thing, I had Erin Novak here to speak kind of on the parent and teacher side, but she wanted me to mention that we at East Olympia, we were able to meet with 18 of our families in their native language. When we have that time scheduled and we know when parents are coming, we are able to provide them their native language with translators, and that was just at our school at East Olympia. So, and that's practically a whole class that we were able to, of families that we were able to meet with in their native language. So I think there are things that we could do to improve, and I've got some ideas for our admin team at our next meeting, but I think overall, there is a huge benefit to this, and I would encourage the board to keep this a staple of Tumwater. Any questions?
I have a
Casey, I
question.
see you making notes.
Yes. I didn't get ice cream, Kim. No, I didn't get cookie or ice cream. I'm going to take personal offense.
We're going to improve that.
So yeah, questions.
Yes.
Questions to you, questions to Wendy. How are we doing?
Both.
This, or what?
Either or.
Cool. So I have, this is not strangely, I get a ton of feedback on this. I get a lot of community response to this. It's from parents, and it's anecdotal, and it's in a circle that I operate in, apparently. There doesn't seem to be a lot of support for it, but I think it's because it's more of a logistics issue versus seeing the benefits and what it does bring. So the feedback to me is that why are we doing this? And just to be blunt about it, hold on
Yeah.
just a second. So I have since talked to several principals. I believe I talked to you a little bit about this. I know I've talked to you, and I know I've talked to Tamara about it. Tamara loves it. So Tamara has, it seems strange that we preach attendance, and then those are key days, and if you miss so many days, then this is going to impact you. We seem to be giving that up here, that we're giving up 2-3 days, and that could, it's contradictory to me, and when we say that. I understand there's some benefits, especially those maybe most in need for sure. I don't want to disregard that. Has there been any efforts underway, maybe I'm looking more towards Kevin on this, around doing this prior to the first day of school or earlier, the day or two before school?
That'll cost money.
Yeah, I would say that's contractual for teachers, and that would add a couple more days to teachers' contracts to do that. So that would be a cost we'd have to consider.
And I also want to point out that through the survey, 70% of parents said that it was absolutely beneficial. And we are also talk all the time about how important relationships are with families and how do we get families in the building. And if we're starting on day 1 and 2 with getting every single one of our families in the building, that's a great start.
I can't disagree. I can't. I want to have it sooner, and I want to have them longer in the classroom. Did you say 70? Is it 70 of both staff and parents in your survey?
Staff were 69.1, parents were 69.3.
So they're exactly the same.
Where we had 96.3% of our families attend in person. So some of the feedback I saw was offering a virtual option, which is something that we do for families that absolutely can't make it. There's a lot of things, I think our communication as a district and as a building, if we were a little earlier and better with that communication and helping them understand, like one comment a parent said, I didn't understand why we were doing this, but as soon as I got there, I totally understood the benefit of it. And so I'd be happy to sit down and go through that data with you and share it with you, but I think there are more pros than cons to this.
Thank you. And then, so you talked about improvements. Well, so we have 10 other days of conferences and engagement with parents. Was there any talk about shifting those days around? Do we need three, is it 2 days or 3 days? I'm sorry, it's 2 days. Do we need 12 days of this? Or can we reduce the other conferences at the quarters or?
Yeah, so there was quite a request that came last year from both our teachers and our principals that the conference times were, they were doing 4 days and to go to 5 days. And the reason for that was that there were a lot of families that needed to, that were in split families that both parents wanted to attend but wouldn't attend together. And so teachers were accommodating two conferences for kids and things like that. And so there was all kinds of, reasons. And right, large class sizes for some of our schools was definitely a consideration as well. So they just didn't have enough time with 4 days.
All right. So
Because they're half days. Because they're half days, not whole days.
Right,
Yeah.
and chopping it to 3 is not going to improve that situation at all. Okay,
Right.
Speaking of improvements, I think Liz mentioned we're looking for, I can't remember which, I think it was Liz. What are we doing to improve this process? And you mentioned you're looking at some improvements. Do you have any of those identified, or how are we going about that?
I think the main one is our communication from the district and each building. So I think if we, as the district, do approve this, sending that communication out soon, not just in the calendar, sending specific communication to our elementary families on what Strong Start is, what it looks like. And then I think we can talk at our admin meetings of how we can align with when we release names for classroom teachers. We've always, at least the last several years, we've waited longer and longer because we've grown so much that we've added, I think the last 5 years, we've added a teacher, a new section, the days before school starts. So we haven't wanted to release names too early in case last minute their class changes, which to me, I'd rather have that conversation than get rid of Strong Start. And that's not an easy conversation, as you can imagine, with some families, but the benefits of Strong Start is worth it. Yeah.
So are we going to go from 4 to 5, or is that something that people have just asked for? Because that's, again, like Casey says, another day of non-instruction.
It's half day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're half day, and it's already this year. It's in this year's calendar
For
that is
4 or
adopted
5.
for 5 this year.
They're a 2-hour early dismissal, correct? Or, yeah, they're half day.
Half day at 11:40. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so they're half days, not, so I mean, we talked about 10 days, but they're not full days.
That is true. They are half days. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's in this year's calendar already. That's why I said there's not a lot of, the calendar pretty much looks the same, just there wasn't any big changes. Actually there were no changes, just the dates changed. So the calendars essentially look the same, just with moving dates.
I just have one more last question. I'm sorry. Thank you for replying. I really appreciate it, Liz. And Wendy. So are we looking at part of the improvements? Great step, for sure. I agree with that. Some challenges. Are we looking to maybe standardize the process? So I got to imagine with several hundred teachers throughout the district that they're all maybe doing it, I'm not going to say differently, but they're not all doing it the same. Has there been any look around standardizing that? And the reason being is, like I said, I've gotten mostly, not negative, but just why are we doing this? There are people that say they absolutely love it. So my question is, and they seem to come from similar backgrounds and similar situations. So why does one love it and maybe one or another group does not? Are we looking to maybe standardize this, take best ideas, best practices at all?
Absolutely. I've been part of Strong Starts for many years from a district I came from. So we had a form that every teacher used, that to ask the same questions. The whole the entire district asked the same questions. We had a script, if you will. Like everybody was trained in it, and I can't speak for what the practice has been coming back. I didn't see that, this last year. I think this is the first year we brought it back, got feedback, and I'm taking that to heart. We'll work with our student learning team, work with our administrators to make sure that our teachers understand the importance of it as well. Because if they're not, if they don't understand the importance of why are we doing this, then you are going to get, different responses to the those conferences.
Sure.
Yeah.
One quick follow-up, and I'm sorry, I apologize on this.
You're good.
And this is maybe more of a Kevin thing, and I don't want to give Kevin an action item, but you mentioned the survey data, which is great. I love seeing the data support the decisions we make. Maybe it would be good to survey again next year around the experience, or not so much did it work for you, but what specifically did we like, and maybe we incorporate those best practices. And then around, I want to say attendance, but does every kid show up? Is this happening? Is it pretty? What's that?
93.6%
Okay.
showed up.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I agree. I think this is something that needs to continue the data. I appreciate, that's why I wanted to bring this back to you. Like, why are we doing this? We asked for it last year. We needed data to show it. I think we have some improvements to make in that data, and I, would be happy to bring that back to you next year with the calendar.
All right, Tamara, you in?
Wow. I was just going to ask, do you want another version of this calendar? I know it's in draft form. We're not taking action on this
No.
tonight. It'll be back at your next board meeting. It would, if we're basically the general consensus is not, not any changes, it would probably just show up as consent agenda item. If you would like, another version of a calendar and ask this team to do that, or with some additional data, they can do that as well. So I just wanted just a little guidance on this presentation. Right. So what I'm hearing is will most likely be in consent agenda next month.
Does that sound all right? Yeah? Okay. I just want to flag something that this is probably going to be the earliest start we have, because Labor Day is September 1st, and that's why it looks so good in June. So I'm worried about next year when, that pushes out, and it'll be a late start, which means it'll be late June.
Yeah, next year is going to be a little bit of a funny calendar, and so there are some things that we've already been talking with the unions about, like, oh, we need to look at that, and that's something we want to do. Start looking at it before this year ends.
Yeah.
I want to do before this year ends. I also would love to get to a place where we're adopting a couple year calendars at a time.
Oh,
and, yeah.
what?
So that's yes.
That's awesome.
I know it's a goal I have. So watch out. So we're going to work towards something like that. But I did want to thank all of our union partners this year. We also, this process, we did it as a collaboration. We sat down with all union groups and looked at it, and there was good feedback. We, the new format was chosen by that group, and there was some good interactions about, oh, why can't we do something on this day because transportation wouldn't work. Like, there was some great collaboration that happened, and I just want to publicly thank them for that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing it so early, so we could have time. I do like the idea of looking at a couple years. I'm not opposed to us starting before Labor Day, because I think it's important to get out early enough in June.
Yeah.
People are tired. So I just want to put it out there. So.
I have Director Keel. It looks like he wants to speak. Are you going to unmic yourself? Go ahead. There you go. We'll see if we can hear you.
No, I'm good. I wasn't waving my hand. Sorry.
All of that.
This is just a test of life. Just making sure.
That was a lot of build-up for that. Okay.
He's here and paying attention. So good job. Thank you, Director Keel. He hadn't turned on his face, so I got my attention.
Okay, now So we're done with the calendar.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll bring it back next month.
All right, and then now you're going to present first reads of a whole lot of policies.
Yes, and as my commitment to go through the 5,000 series, there were 4 policies that are essential policies that we did not have adopted in this district. So because they're essential, I am bringing them forward. There's not a whole lot of, there's no procedures with these. They're pretty straightforward. And so, the first one being certificated staff contracts, just clarifying what continuing contract is, provisional, that when somebody retires, when they're rehired, that status. So it's really taking the RCW and the WACs and just memorializing them really in the policy. The next one, evaluations to staff. That it's that we have to evaluate, why we evaluate, and that ESA evaluations are different than TPEP. And then unpaid holidays for faith or conscious space is actually one that is recommended or is a essential policy as well. It's not a very long policy, as you can see. And then the 5,400, we actually brought this one forward last year, but there is new language now in 5,400. So this is the only one that we do have adopted. And what that takes out is the governor's order on COVID.
Oh, yeah.
And so since that is outdated, my commitment to stay up on these and keep them going, we just are updating that one. So I will take questions on any of those. Yes.
So all of these are essential based upon WASDA then?
Yes, they're the WASDA policies.
Okay.
I did not change any of the language in them except for to make them Tumwater.
Casey,
No, thanks, Wendy, appreciate it.
my policy gurus. No
All right.
questions?
No, I do have something. Thank you for going
Yes.
through the 5,000
Yes.
series.
You're welcome.
You have no idea how much I appreciate that. I've done similar activities, and we've changed a few for sure, but I have a huge list that just need to get up to date, and so I really appreciate that effort. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you. Now, Megan is back to present first reads on 3205 and 3210.
Thank you. So first reading of 3205 is putting us in compliance with the new Title IX rules. These went into effect August 1st, 2024. I'm proposing that we update policy 3205 to ensure our compliance. 3 main reasons is compliance with Title IX, preparation. We're going through an OSPI review right now this year, and then obviously strengthening protection for students. So updating the policy is a crucial step in ensuring our district's compliance with federal regulations. And we make a commitment to providing a safe and equitable learning environment for our students. I'm recommending that this is first reading on January 23rd and board approval on February 27th.
So you talk faster than I do. The Title IX rules based upon what date?
August
1st, 2024.
2024, okay. So I listen to the news, I'm an old news hound, and I think that there is an effort to change or
Yes.
reinforce the old Title IX stuff so that this might end up being outmoded before we even do it, so.
Yeah, we're
That's a
expecting,
concern I
Yeah,
have.
we still need we need to be in current, likely change because Congress is passing a law, but
Yes.
all the guidance, we'll need to wait for that guidance to come.
we're expecting by the beginning of next year, there will be updated guidance again and new training for them to all attend. But we do still need to be in compliance with the current language. So the adoption, we're still recommending adopting this to update our language. One, we are there is going to be an OSPI review, and this is one of the areas that they will look at. Do you have current policies in these areas?
Because I'd like to look at what we have and what this proposal is. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to do that today.
Well, we need this to be in compliance with the law, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is just first reading, so there's no voting tonight.
Yeah, so take a look and then get comments to Megan.
Yeah, if there's questions or comments or different information, we can come back and add it as an update in second reading before you vote on that. Or, again, if you need more time, again, this is one of those that we could push forward if you're not ready to vote next time as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I would like, if it's a whole month from now, so if there are changes, let's not wait till the stuff comes out the
Yeah.
week before our meeting. Let's look at it now and get it to Megan so she has time. 'Cause I'd like to pass whatever it is we need to pass at the next meeting.
That would be ideal.
Yes, thank you.
And the second policy revision is 3210, non-discrimination. This is updating our board policy to be sure that we have non-discrimination statements in the correct places, in our schools, on our website, that we list the RCW Model Student Handbook language in our district student handbook, that we are free from discriminatory harassment. We have a complaint procedure in our school district that is easy to access for parents and students, that we have a compliance officer, which is me, that we offer training, not just offer, but the district will train all administrators, certificated classroom personnel around this policy, and that retaliation is prohibited as we work through the process of any discriminatory complaint. My recommendation is a first reading today and that we would have board approval on February 27th. This policy also brings us in compliance with the OSPI review that we're doing, which I think the deadline is in March.
Are we expected to have changes to this shortly as well, too?
Like federal guidance and federal change?
Well, you can read it.
I don't think this one's more broadly based on just sort of broad requirements, so I don't think we're going to probably see as many, this isn't as specific. I think Title IX is probably where we're going to see the most changes coming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Now we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I know everyone, I appreciate people kind of hanging out as we're almost to the end here. I feel
We're ahead
like
of schedule. I just want to point out we're ahead of schedule.
that's true. It was
Thank
kind
you.
of a scheduled long one, but I know it's been a little bit of a lengthy meeting tonight, so I appreciate everyone's patience. I do want to just start acknowledging that this week we celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Holiday. This MLK Day serves as a powerful reminder of the principles of equality, justice, of the value of education in fostering change. For our schools, it's an opportunity to reflect on Dr. King's vision of a more inclusive and compassionate society, inspiring students to embrace empathy, kindness, and the courage to stand up for what's right. This day reinforces our commitment as educators to ensure that every student feels valued and empowered to contribute to a brighter future. So I thought it was just important for us to recognize that today. I do want to recognize a couple of our teachers and classified. We've been doing the Employee of the Month, and so for December, Clint Foster, Little Rock custodian, was recognized, and also Rick McGrath at Tumwater High School. I haven't had a chance. Rick wasn't at our meeting, so his whole staff, they all clapped for him, even though he wasn't in attendance. I still need to connect with Coach McGrath and provide him his certificate. We give out a mission coin to them. And just give some praise. I know in this time period, like a day like today, and we're talking about reduction, a lot of what we're talking about today is the celebration of our great employees. And these two, Clint, they can't praise him enough. They're super supportive of the work that he does for their school every day. And Rick the same way. It's just an abundance of praise and support and love for these educators. So we appreciate them. You heard this. I felt like today I at least wanted to acknowledge it's such a great honor for us. In the last week, we heard from the White House announced the awardees for the Presidential Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. This distinguished recognition is the highest honor bestowed by the White House on K-12 educators in STEM fields, and we are immensely proud to have such a dedicated and exemplary teacher in our district, Christy Martin. Ms. Martin's outstanding dedication to student learning, innovation, and STEM education, and unwavering commitment to excellence have rightfully earned her this national accolade. She'll receive a signed certificate from the president, a $10,000 award from the National Science Foundation, and an invitation to an awards ceremony later this year in Washington, D.C. So we congratulate Ms. Martin on her well-deserved honor and look forward to her continued success in shaping the future of our students. We will invite her back later this year so that you can congratulate her yourself. I know she'll want to come and make a few comments to the board. So Christy is a science and math teacher at Black Hills High School. I just wanted to recognize, and I think maybe a couple of our folks will maybe mention this, but our legislative session conference was held on January 11th and 12th at the SeaTac Hilton Convention Center, and a collaboration this year between WASA, WASDA, and WASBO. So those are all of our kind of state organizations guiding and preparing educational leaders for this legislative session. The event focused on advocating for 3 critical priorities: special education, material supplies and operating costs, those MSOC, and pupil transportation. It is being referenced as the Big 3, and you're going to hear that over and over during this legislative session. Highlights also included such things as there's Tammy Pfeiffer was addressing on leveraging dignity in advocacy, and I'd like to share that probably at another meeting, but I thought it was one of those sessions that hit you like, oh, we need to do a little bit better on using dignity and not so critical of in our speech. And so I think something that we can all learn from and take from. And then there was a bunch of different workshops crafting plans and understanding of K-12 funding, elevating student voice, and ensuring everyone leaves ready to advocate. Director Beard and Director Adams also participated, and we'll be working to provide some advocacy in the coming months. The session opened in the last week, and we anxiously look forward to the next about 100 days of this session. I think there are 97 days left, I believe, after today. And there's already some 94 days. There's already some progress being made. I signed on to 4 different expense bills this week. I know we've had a legislative session with our regionally, so we are all kind of galvanizing together to try to push forward revenue and support for public education. So I'm hopefully optimistic that they are listening to the educator voice across our state, and so we'll see what happens. I do want just a quick reminder, the Battle for Billy continues Friday, January 31st this year at Tumwater High School. Tumwater High School and Black Hills, they face off in this basketball rivalry. They are competing for the coveted Battle for Billy trophy. It was introduced 2 years ago, highlights outstanding sportsmanship between our athletes, coaches, students, and fans. Although Black Hills has claimed this trophy previously, the real victory comes from both of our schools showcasing positive school spirit and respecting the game. So we are continuing this tradition, and our panel of independent judges will be in attendance to evaluate which school embodies the values of good sportsmanship. And again, whether your team wins, I encourage everyone to arrive ready to support our athletes, celebrate camaraderie, and make this a matchup of fantastic experience for the entire community. So that is on January 31st. Both boys and girls play. I think it starts at 5:30 judge. So yeah, and then I know there was some conversation. We also have packed the gym for our unified basketball on Monday of that week.
Yeah.
Is that part, like I know there was part of saying, hey, Battle for Billy begins on Monday, so come support that. We're going to be watching that. I don't know if that was actually included, so maybe something in the future. But yeah, so we're kind of paying attention to trying. Again, they both big, great events, well attended, and we'll be supporting our student athletes. That's all I have for today.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Now we'll move to board member reports. Darby's not here to do board goal updates, but the board members have our legislative priorities. It's so pretty. Where's Lori? Lori's priority gone.
She's there.
Oh, there. Oh, you're behind. Thank you, Lori. This looks great. So there's a stack for us to bring to legislators. And so our priorities align with the priorities of the big three, along with lifting the levy lid and student behavior supports. Sorry. That's putting out the garbage. So if you want to advocate on behalf of the school district, Lori has these for you, and you can bring them to your legislator. I just wanted to mention, I found there are a number of bills that are related to our priorities. So the two material supplies and operating cost bills are Senate Bill 5192 and House Bill 1338. And I got a side-by-side of them, and if you look, I personally like the House bill better, and it's because it keeps the allocations separate. So there's an allocation for technology currently, allocation for utilities, and they increase each of those allocations 25%. The Senate version they just have a flat amount.
It's like 10%.
What?
The Senate version's 10% increase.
Yeah, and it's just a flat amount. It takes out the separate allocations. The other thing I like about the House bill is that it reviews and rebases the allocations, and they compare it to our actual operating costs every 4 years. That would be nice. So that's the first time I've ever seen that. So I just like that. So if anyone's interested in advocating, there is a transportation bill, 5187, which it just requires a study for the most part, which is what they do when they want to punt on actually funding it. But it also requires the state to provide $400 per student for students who require special transportation due to the McKinney-Vento Act. So that would be helpful. And then there are two special education bills, 5263 and 5307. These are both in the Senate. It removes the enrollment cap, which doesn't affect us because we are below the enrollment cap.
It'll help us a tiny bit.
But more importantly, it increases the multiplier from 1.2 or 1.06 up to 1.5 and decreases the safety net eligibility to 1.5 times the average per pupil expenditure. Right now it's at 2.2. So both of those Senate bills do that. They increase the multiplier and then decrease the safety net eligibility threshold. So if you are so inclined, it's really easy to go click on a button and click Pro, sign in your name and click Pro. Any questions on?
On the MSOC, there is those two different bills. You'll kind of hear it's a little bit contradictory. We are kind of, I think all these groups are basically supporting both the House bill and the Senate bill. One is we don't want, the Senate bill is not the preferred one, I think, by most of us, but we don't want to kill it in the Senate.
No.
So it needs to move on to Ways and Means, and there's a belief that then that kind of when it gets into the kind of Finance Committee, they'll kind of connect the dots on these two, and that we hope a little bit better funding model comes out of that. But we kind of want to keep both of those alive as long as possible.
Yeah, good point. Okay. Anything else? Do you have anything? Questions, Casey?
No, great job.
Great.
Appreciate the work. Jill, Melissa, both of you, thank you.
Thanks. Now we're to board member comments. We'll each have 2 minutes to speak. Does Ty want to speak?
I'll see if he pops his face on.
Okay.
He's hiding.
Mr. Keel. I haven't said that since I was in high school. Mr. Keel.
He's listening. Oh, yep. You want to go first?
No comment.
No comment on the day. Okay.
Thanks, Ty. Thanks for attending via Zoom. I appreciate you being here, Ty. Casey, would you like to go next?
Yeah. Thank you, Selena and Sydney and George and Melinda and Sally and Lisa and Sarah for having your voice or being courageous enough to come speak today. Your voices were heard. Again, this is a very rough time, but I'm glad we have the opportunity for everyone's voice to be heard, especially in these tough times. Thank you, both principals. Looks like Kim laughed, but thank you, Tamara. I appreciate it. Great job. The presentations are great, but I'm always looking forward to the next. Like, how'd you do? What'd you improve? And I'm sure you get that from everybody, and probably this guy too. So, thank you very much. And then I'm good. Thanks.
Oh.
Yep.
Jill?
So again, I'd like to thank the folks who expressed their observations of things. That helps us to make better decisions, to do a better job for the district. And I also want to thank the staff for doing an excellent job of communicating information. And lastly, that again, I think there are brighter days if we can work real hard and get the legislature to respond more to public education's financial needs. So that's the next step for us. We really need to participate in that, because then that would make our budget for 25, 26 that much easier, right? If we can get more funds for public education.
Thank you. Cody?
I appreciate all public comments as usual, and I did not say that much this meeting, but I was writing a lot down, so I appreciate all of the public comments. Thank you.
I don't have much to say either, other than I appreciate my fellow board members, and we are going through a rough time right now, but I think we have a great team. I especially appreciate everyone who I appreciate all of the viewpoints, and I think that's important for us to remember. Is I don't want us to all necessarily agree if we don't agree. It's important for everyone to be heard and to say what they need to say, and doing this together. So I do know that it was hard for a lot of people to come and make a public comment, and I always believe this about public comment. They come and do it because they believe that we care, and we do care. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate all the. It's something I read from the outgoing Surgeon General. I gave it to Kevin and Megan to read, and it's about community, and that we need to focus on building community. The prescription by the outgoing Surgeon General was saying that we need to build community, and it's about relationships and service, and I can never remember the third. Something like purpose. Yeah, it's purpose. And when I read that, I thought about Jill's comments at the last meeting about how we can bring other people into our schools to help us do this work. It just all kind of came together for me. And then you coming tonight to talk about how you are bringing the community in. I think that is how we get through this, and we will be a stronger community by letting the community into our schools. So I look forward to hearing more about that as we go through this. We don't have to do this all alone, and we don't have to. It's a lot of work, but we don't have to do it alone. So thank you, everyone. With that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at what time? That's 7:36.